good to be in DC and see somebody from Bowling Green. That's great. What Steve didn't tell you is he was actually my first landlord as well. I rented a house for 2 years when I moved to Bowling Green. In your company, Western
Realty.
Western Realty. It's not called that now?
No, sir.
It was Western Realty, and I rented for 2 years, and I was always on time. I always one of the things I thought I'd mention to you, because I know you're interested in some of the things that were in this, they call it tax extenders. There's both good and bad here, but there's something important to know. One of the things is that it's a really dumb idea to run your government where you don't make the law and just sort of abide by the law, but the law expires every year, and then we have to renew the law. It doesn't breed certainty in the marketplace, and it's kind of a crazy thing to think that at the end of the year you're waiting, can I still deduct this for my business or not deduct this for my business? Will mortgage interest still be deductible or not? I mean, it's ridiculous that we don't just create the law, leave it, and then it's a big deal to change the law instead of every year having to renew it. The other thing that's important out of the tax extender debate, and that I think needs to be discussed, is the way we use words. And words are important, and definitions are important. So some conservatives criticize this bill, and they said, oh, it's a giveaway. You're giving taxpayer money to certain businesses. And I guess I kind of look at it the opposite. I look at it that when you work hard, it's your money, and you have to give a certain portion of it to the government. But if you get some of it back through a credit or a tax deduction, you're just getting back your own money. So the government's not giving you anything. Why is this important? Because definitions are important and they help to sway the debate. This is also important for other things. I'm concerned, and this doesn't really have to do with business, but I'm concerned someday they will say, well, it's a giveaway to deduct your contributions to your church. And so because the government money is going to your church, then we can say what you can do or say in your church, in your activities. That's a real problem for me, okay? But it's also the same problem. So really understand what I'm saying is that if you have a business deduction or a tax credit or something that reduces your taxes, it's not the government giving you any money. It's you keeping some of your own money. That being said, are all the tax extenders great? Are all the tax credits we have great? Not really. We should have a better system with fewer of these things in there, but the only way we can get to a system with fewer of these sort of loopholes and credits and distortions is to lower the tax rates. So frankly, a lot of these things that were in that bill under my plan wouldn't be there at all. But I would have a 17% corporate income tax, a 17% personal income tax, flat across the board, and I think we keep charity and mortgage. So we decided those were two people we didn't want to fight. Which means your effective rate would probably be less than 17. Your effective rate's probably 15 or 14. What would that mean? Initially, it would mean less money for government. About a $600 billion tax deduction. However, what would that do? That'd be $600 billion left in the marketplace. I always tell people, if you want your community to be richer, if you want Bowling Green to be richer, leave more money in Bowling Green. You know, we want to help Detroit get out from under 20% unemployment. I'm not going to bail them out by sending money from Bowling Green, but I don't mind reducing their taxes such that we leave a lot more money in Detroit that originates there. And people say, oh, well, they're so poor, there won't be any money. It's amazing. Even a poor community, if you reduce Detroit's taxes dramatically over 10 years, it's $1.3 billion. But it's not a stimulus where I take someone's money and give it to them. The reason that never works is government always gives it to the wrong people. We don't know who's going to succeed in business. So if I say, Mr. Smith, we're going to give you $100,000 to create jobs. 9 out of 10 Mr. Smiths fail, or Mrs. Smiths fail, because we don't know which businesses will succeed. But if you give it in the form of a tax reduction, the community's already voted. In your community, you're being voted on every day whether you will succeed. If you're successful in your business, you are only that way because everybody's voting on you every day. Your customers, you either have more or less or not enough customers. So if you're in business and you're succeeding and paying taxes, you've already proved that you can create jobs. So if I want to create more jobs, you leave more money in the hands of people who have already created a business. You don't have the presumption that, well, we'll just create new businesses. Think of Solyndra. We got one of the richest guys in the country. He's the 20th richest man, I think, in the world. We gave him $500 million of your money to build solar panels. Well, it turns out nobody wanted his solar panels, and we lost all the money. But that's a huge mistake. It's someone picking winners and losers. If you want to stimulate the economy by lowering taxes, you don't pick who the winners and losers are. So this is a fundamental difference between our side and the other side. I will continue to fight to try to protect Kentucky from the federal government. It is business in general that's beleaguered, but it's really our state in particular that's been beleaguered because we have such a significant coal industry, we have power generation. You go into an eastern Kentucky community and they lose 20 coal mining jobs that pay $75,000 a year, but then they lose another 10 in the power plant. You're losing the solid middle class of a lot of small towns in eastern Kentucky, and it's devastating. There's despair in some places on the faces of those in eastern Kentucky. So we do need people who will stand up for Kentucky against the federal government. Doesn't mean I'm not for any government, but I think I'd rather see more of it at home and less of it up here. But I'm honored to be your representative. I'm honored that you've allowed me, or at least some of you probably did, have allowed me to be in this position. And I'm going to keep up the fight. And but I appreciate very much the honor of serving as your senator. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Senator Paul?
I've got one.
Yes.
Are you the liberal candidate for president, as was said this morning?
The liberal candidate? Who said that?
Chris Matthews.
Chris
Chris
Matthews.
Matthews. Well, you'd think you were done with the liberal. Libertarian. I'm a Republican. That's what I'll always be. As far as what that means, people are different varieties of Republicans, different varieties of Democrats. What I will say, though, is that I think it helps not to be pigeonholed as just one thing. And I am open to people who are Democrats on certain issues. I just got off the floor talking with Ron Wyden, who is a progressive Democrat from Oregon. But he and I both work on civil liberties. We don't think that your phone records should be looked at by the government unless a judge gives a warrant, unless there's probable cause and suspicion you committed a crime. Otherwise, your records are private. So he and I are on different ends of the spectrum, but agree. And I think that ultimately, thinking of things from a Republican point of view, the only way the Republican Party can win is by getting bigger. So we do need to reach out to young people who agree with us on the privacy issue. We need to do a better job with minorities. If we could win more African American vote, we might be able to win in some of these states that are dominated by big city populations. So I am trying to make the party bigger. Where that leads individually, I don't know yet, but I am trying to figure out how to make the party bigger.
Question, comment is this. As a Republican, as a Democrat, whatever the label is, as a citizen, when I look and analyze government, it would appear to me that government, for the people and by the people and to the people and whatever, should be for the people. So here I'm going to comment. What do you think about changing the presidential thing from maybe what it was, I don't know if it ever was or not, but top vote getter is the President of the United States, and the second runner-up is the Vice President of the United States, regardless of the party.
Yeah. Well, that would be interesting, to say the least. And I think in the very beginning, we did have that once or twice where the second runner-up was the Vice President. Some countries do it that way. I don't know if we'll get to that, but I think having people in the cabinet or from both parties is a good idea. So I think that more discussion and cooperation. The other thing I've become convinced of up here and why things are so dysfunctional is that, let's say we take this group and we want to do overall tax reform. And there's 1,000 different pieces in overall tax reform. Even this group, which is pro-business and probably conservative, we probably can't agree on everything. But if we narrow the focus, we can agree on more. Even Republicans and Democrats, we agree on at least 3 out of every 10 issues. And you know what we're passing up here? 0 out of 10. But I will give you one thing that I am working on, and I have been talking with the Democrat leadership on, and there's a chance we could pass. There's $2 trillion overseas in American business profit. It's been earned overseas. They pay taxes in Europe, but then they won't bring it home because they have to pay 35% again. Apple has $180 billion overseas, but they borrowed money at 2% rather than pay taxes at 35%. I would like to let all of that come home at 5% instead of 35%, and it actually increases tax revenue because more of it will come home. Almost none of it comes home now. And then I'd like to take that money and put it into an infrastructure fund to fix our roads and bridges that need to be repaired. This has great bipartisan support. It probably has 80 votes in the Senate, and I think we can pass it in the House easily. And yet it still sort of languishes because we can't figure out how to get beyond sort of, partisanship, I guess is the way to look at it. But we're trying.
Since you mentioned bridges, I'm from Fort Thomas, and I grew up in the neighborhood where I watched my baseball field be destroyed for I-75 and watched the Brent Spence Bridge being built. Do you think I'll see another one in my lifetime?
Another bridge. I tell people the Brent Spence Bridge is as old as me, so it's getting up there in age, and we need more bridges in our country. And I've said frankly that we need to be building them here at home and not in Pakistan. And we don't have enough money to build them around the world. Doesn't mean I don't like other countries. It's just we've got to build stuff at home first. One way we do it is with repatriated money. Let American corporations, it's a win-win situation. We actually lower a tax rate, but bring in more tax revenue. And it would almost double the amount of infrastructure funding. That would allow us to build and replace bridges. If you say, well, let's just raise the gas tax, that's probably not going to happen because many Republicans like myself just we're not really excited about raising taxes. But if I can bring in more revenue by lowering a tax, I'm all for that. That's actually an easy lift up here. So raising the gas tax is probably not going to happen, even though the gas tax is inadequate. But if you actually get a new revenue stream, foreign capital being taxed at a low percentage, and put all that money not in the general fund, but put it into a transportation fund specifically where it has to be spent there, I would say there's maybe a 50% chance we get that passed this year, but that's something I am pushing.